On November 16, 1807, a massive storm batters the South China Sea. Somewhere in the chaos, pirate captain Zheng Yi is killed, either drowned in the swell or struck by a stray cannonball. His sudden death creates an immediate, terrifying void. 70,000 heavily armed criminals, spread across hundreds of ships, are suddenly left without a commander. Into this highly volatile arena steps his widow, Zheng Yi Sao. Under normal circumstances, a woman with no blood right to the fleet would be an easy target in a cutthroat underworld. She faces a brutal binary choice: quickly seize control of the Confederation before rival captains tear it apart, or accept her inevitable execution. To understand the sheer unlikelihood of her survival, we have to look back to 1775. She was born into the Tanka, the poorest boat-dwelling community in the Pearl River Delta. The Tanka lived completely on the water. Families were packed tightly into wooden junks, sharing a few meters of creaking planks and patched canvas, sometimes going years without ever touching dry land. The Qing government legally classified them as mean people. They were barred from owning property, forbidden from taking the imperial exams that led to government jobs, and prohibited from marrying anyone from the shore. Survival for a Tanka girl meant navigating whatever work was available. As she grew older, she found employment on a floating brothel known as a flower boat, learning early how to manage the sailors, merchants, and violent men who frequented them. She started life entirely invisible to the wealthy elites of the Chinese Empire. Yet decades later, standing at the center of a massive succession crisis, that same outcast would engineer the largest criminal takeover in maritime history. Faced with the collapse of her late husband's empire in 1807, Zheng Yi Sao acts decisively. Her first move is to legally marry Zhang Bao, a young captain who happened to be her late husband's adopted son. By strict Confucian standards, a widow marrying her stepson is a massive scandal. By pirate logic, it is a masterstroke. Zhang Bao already controlled the largest squadron, and tying him to her locks down the fleet's chain of command. This flowchart illustrates the strict economic model she implemented next. When a ship was captured, the pirate who boarded it kept exactly 20% of the loot. The remaining 80% was automatically routed into a central public treasury to support the entire fleet. Expanding the diagram reveals the brutal penal code she used to enforce this system. Stealing from the fund or disobeying a direct order led down one path straight to decapitation. Assaulting female captives routed down another path, ending in immediate execution. With internal discipline secured, she pivots the entire Confederation from random raiding to systemic racketeering. Her officers begin selling bureaucratic protection passes. Salt merchants and local fishermen quickly learn that paying a pirate tax guarantees safer passage than relying on the Imperial Navy. She takes a loose alliance of bandits and turns it into a parallel shadow state. Her fleet operates with its own taxes, rigorous laws, and even a welfare system that provides health care for injured fighters. Look at this bar chart comparing naval forces to see the true scale of her operation. Blackbeard, the most famous pirate in Western history, commanded a peak of 4 ships. The legendary Spanish Armada had 130. Zheng Yi Sao stands towering at the top, commanding 1,800 ships and 70,000 followers. The Qing Empire panics. Beijing attempts a severe coastal embargo, locking merchant ships in port and rerouting salt shipments overland in a desperate bid to starve the Confederation of targets and supplies. Zheng Yi Sao counters the embargo with overwhelming violence. She directs her fleets to pour inland, overrunning imperial river garrisons, looting towns, and directly threatening the empire's main economic hub in Guangzhou. Out of options, the Qing officials swallow their pride and hire heavily armed Portuguese warships to clear the Pearl River. The pirates crush the European mercenaries as well. The largest, wealthiest empire on Earth cannot protect its own coastline. Zheng Yi Sao proves definitively that the southern waterways no longer belong to China. They belong to her. The external wars fail to break her, but in 1809, a fracture appears from within. The commander of the massive Black Flag fleet, harboring a long-standing resentment toward her new husband, suddenly turns against the Confederation. The ensuing sea battle between the former allies is devastating. 1,000 pirates are killed, 16 ships are captured, and the once unbreakable alliance begins to splinter as paranoia spreads. Sensing the vulnerability, the Qing government switches tactics. They drop the naval assaults and start offering full amnesty, government jobs, and silver to any pirate captain willing to defect. Historically, this is where criminal empires fight a bloody, stubborn war until they are wiped out. Zheng Yi Sao reads the room. She recognizes that her military leverage has peaked, and rather than dying at sea, she shifts her strategy entirely to diplomacy. In early 1810, she makes her move. Without firing a single shot, she marches directly into the government offices in Macau, surrounded by thousands of followers, men, women, and children who have lived their entire lives on pirate ships. She sits down with desperate Qing officials and dictates her terms. The empire agrees to almost everything. She keeps her fleet, secures pardons for 17,000 pirates, and ensures her husband is commissioned as a high-ranking naval officer. Her post-piracy life is surreal. She settles near Guangzhou as a wealthy, legally protected citizen, opening a large gambling house and continuing to wield significant local influence. She outlives her husband by 20 years, entirely avoiding the violent end that catches almost every other famous pirate. In 1844, at the age of 69, she dies peacefully in her sleep. Building the largest pirate confederacy in history is a remarkable logistical feat. Having the foresight and the leverage to negotiate a bloodless exit on your own terms makes her a true anomaly in the history of power.